The notification sound was so ordinary. Just a soft ding from my husband's iPad sitting on the kitchen counter. He was upstairs in the shower, and I was loading the dishwasher, my hands pruny from the water. I almost ignored it. Almost. But something made me glance over. The screen was still lit. I could see the preview of a text message from someone saved as J. Just 2 words visible. Tonight, then? My stomach tightened. I told myself it was nothing. Probably work. Probably his mate Jordan confirming plans. But my feet were already moving toward the counter before my brain caught up. I picked up the iPad, and because we'd always shared passwords, always because we had nothing to hide, I swiped up and entered his passcode. The message thread with J opened. My heart stopped. There were photos, videos, messages going back months, and they weren't from Jordan. They were from our 15-year-old daughter, Emma. But these weren't normal parent-child messages. These were... I couldn't process what I was seeing. The language, the photos she'd sent, the things she was saying, flirting, planning, promising things. I dropped the iPad like it had burned me. It clattered against the counter, the screen still glowing with evidence of something so wrong, so impossible, that my mind refused to accept it. My husband Mark wasn't having an affair with a colleague. He was grooming our daughter. And I had approximately 3 minutes before he came downstairs to decide what the hell I was going to do about it. But here's the thing about that moment. The thing I didn't know yet, the thing that would destroy me more than anything I'd already seen. I was reading those messages completely wrong. And by the time I figured out the truth, I'd already lost Emma forever. 6 months earlier, life was normal. Boring even. Mark and I had been married for 17 years. Since I was 23 and stupid in love with the idea of building something permanent. We'd met at university, both studying marketing, both ambitious in that safe, middle-class way. We wanted the house, the career progression, the 2.5 children. We got Emma instead, just the one, after 3 miscarriages that hollowed me out emotionally and made us grateful for what we had. She was our miracle baby, our entire world. Mark worked in advertising, long hours, high stress, good money. I'd shifted to part-time consulting when Emma was born and never really shifted back. I told myself I didn't mind. Someone needed to be present, and Mark's career had more momentum. That's what I told myself. Emma was 15 and exactly the kind of teenager you'd expect. Moody, brilliant, attached to her phone like it was a life support system. She'd become distant over the past year. Standard teenage stuff, I thought. The eye rolls. The one-word answers. The way she'd lock her bedroom door and blast music while doing God knows what online. Mark and I had started drifting too, if I'm honest. Not dramatically. Just apart. We'd have dinner together most nights, but the conversation had become transactional. Who's picking Emma up from dance? Did you pay the electricity bill? Do we need milk? The intimacy had faded to monthly obligation sex that left both of us relieved when it was over. But we were fine. We were a family. We had routines. Emma had dance class every Tuesday and Thursday. Mark had poker nights every other Friday. I had book club on Wednesdays, though mostly we just drank wine and complained about our husbands. Everything was so perfectly, mundanely normal. Until about 3 months before I found those messages, when things started shifting in ways I couldn't quite name. Mark began working from home more. He said it was the new hybrid policy at work, but he'd specifically requested the home days be Tuesdays and Thursdays, Emma's dance days. When I'd leave to drive her, he'd stay behind, saying he had calls. Emma started dressing differently. More makeup, tighter clothes. She'd always been beautiful. She had my dark hair and Mark's green eyes, but suddenly she was presenting herself, performing femininity in a way that felt too mature, too aware. They started having private jokes. I'd walk into a room and they'd stop talking, laughing about something I wasn't part of. Emma started asking Mark for advice instead of me, about school, about friends, about everything. I told myself I was being paranoid, jealous even. Wasn't it good that they were close? That she still wanted to connect with at least one parent? But there were other things, smaller things. Mark bought Emma a new iPhone for her birthday, the expensive one, the Pro Max, without discussing it with me first. When I questioned it, he said she deserved it, that she was responsible. Emma started staying up late. I'd hear her door open at midnight, 1 a.m., creeping to the bathroom. Mark's office light would still be on, glowing under his door across the hall. Once, I woke at 2 a.m. to get water and heard whispers. Emma's voice, coming from Mark's office. When I opened the door, they both jumped. Mark said she couldn't sleep and wanted to talk. Emma wouldn't meet my eyes. I told myself these were normal things, that I was manufacturing problems where none existed. God, I was so stupid. The first real crack came about 2 weeks before I found the messages. I'd been cleaning Emma's room, something she told me to stop doing, but I was still her mother and teenagers are slobs. I found a jewelry box under her bed that I'd never seen before. Expensive looking. Tiffany's. Inside was a silver bracelet with a small heart charm, engraved on the back. Always M. M for Mark. When I asked Emma about it later, she went white, then red. Said a friend gave it to her. A friend named Michael. A boyfriend I'd never heard about. When I pushed, she screamed at me. Actually screamed that I was invading her privacy, that I was suffocating her, that she couldn't breathe in this house. She grabbed the bracelet from my hand and locked herself in her room for the rest of the night. Mark said I'd overreacted, that she was a teenager with a crush, and I was embarrassing her, that I needed to give her space. I backed off. I shouldn't have backed off, standing in my kitchen with that iPad in my hand, staring at messages that made my skin crawl. I had two choices, confront Mark immediately or dig deeper. I heard the shower turn off upstairs.
You chose to that.
I took photos of everything with my phone, screenshots of the messages, the photos Emma had sent, the timestamps. My hands were shaking so badly, I could barely hold the phone steady. Then I put the iPad back exactly where Mark had left it and returned to the sink, plunging my hands back into the dishwater like nothing had happened. Mark came downstairs 5 minutes later, smelling like soap and aftershave. "You alright?" he asked, kissing the top of my head. "You look pale." "Just tired," I said. My voice sounded normal. How was my voice normal? Long day. He picked up the iPad, checked his messages, and smiled at something before setting it back down. That smile made me want to vomit. Emma came home from dance class an hour later. She barely acknowledged me, heading straight upstairs to her room. I watched her disappear, this stranger wearing my daughter's face, and felt something in me fracture. I waited until 2 a.m. when I knew they were both asleep. Then I locked myself in the bathroom and examined the screenshots I'd taken. The messages went back 7 months. They started innocently enough. Dad asking Jay, which I now realized stood for nothing, just a way to hide her real name, about school, about dance. Then they got more familiar, more personal, more intimate. "You're so beautiful, you know that? I can't stop thinking about you. Tonight when your mom was asleep, I almost came to your room." And Emma, God Emma, responded, encouraged it, sent photos of herself in poses no 15-year-old should know how to strike. I threw up in the toilet, quietly, so I wouldn't wake anyone. But here's where everything I thought I understood started to unravel. I was so focused on what I was seeing that I didn't notice what I wasn't seeing. And that blindness? That would cost me everything. The next morning, I called in sick to work. After Mark left for the office and Emma left for school, I tore apart Mark's home office. I found a second phone hidden in his desk drawer. A burner phone. When I turned it on, there were more messages. But not to Emma. To someone named Rachel. Same pattern. Same grooming language. But Rachel wasn't our daughter. She was someone else's. The phone had other numbers too. A pattern of deleted threads, but not deleted carefully enough. I could see fragments. Girls' names. Young names.
Sarah.
Melissa. Another J, this one apparently short for Jennifer. My husband wasn't just grooming Emma. He was grooming multiple girls. I sat on the floor of his office, surrounded by evidence, and felt reality tilt. This wasn't a marriage problem. This wasn't infidelity. This was criminal. This was monstrous.
I should have called the police right then.
I didn't. Because when I scrolled further through Emma's message thread, I found something else. Something that changed everything again. Emma had written 3 days earlier, "I can't do this anymore. I want to tell Mom." Mark's response, "If you tell her, I'll make sure everyone at school sees the photos you sent me. Every single one. Think about what that will do to you." He was blackmailing her. My daughter wasn't a willing participant. She was a victim, and she tried to escape, and he trapped her with shame. The rage that filled me was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. It was pure, clarifying. I wasn't just angry, I was murderous. I called my solicitor friend, Catherine, and told her everything. She told me to document everything, contact police, and under no circumstances confront Mark alone. I did the first two. I ignored the third. When Mark came home that evening, I was waiting in the kitchen with printed copies of every message, every photo, every piece of evidence spread across the table. "Sit down," I said.
My voice was ice.
He saw the papers. His face drained of color. "Sarah, I can explain."
Seat.
Down. He sat. "You have 10 seconds to tell me the truth before I call the police," I said. "Why our daughter? Why Emma?" And that's when Mark said the words that destroyed me more completely than anything else. "What the hell are you talking about? I've never touched Emma. Those messages aren't from me." I stared at him. "Don't you dare." "Look at the account," he said urgently, desperately. "Look at the actual account details, Sarah. That's not my iCloud account." He grabbed the iPad, logged out, and showed me the sign-in information. The account name was m.art.harrison@icloud.com. Mark's email was m.tharrison@icloud.com. Middle initial T. For Thomas. Middle initial R. R for Robert. Emma's middle name was Rose, my mother's name. We'd always called her Emma Rose at home, like a double-barreled name.
Air.
But her legal name was Emma Rose Harrison, and when she'd created her first iCloud account years ago, she'd used her initials, E.R. Harrison. But there was no E in this account email. "Who's M.R.?" I whispered. Mark's face was gray. "I don't know. But Sarah, those messages to Emma? They're between Emma and someone else. Someone pretending to be me. Someone using my photo, my information." We both turned toward the stairs at the same time. Emma's door was closed. We climbed the stairs together, Mark behind me, both of us moving like we were underwater. I knocked. No answer. I opened the door. Emma was sitting on her bed, her phone in her hand, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry." The full truth came out in pieces over the next 3 hours, with police present. Emma had been catfished by someone posing as Mark. It had started in an online dance community forum where she'd posted videos of her performances. Someone claiming to be her dad, so proud, had started messaging her. She hadn't thought anything of it at first, but the messages had moved to iCloud. The person knew details about our family, about Mark's work, about our house. They'd somehow gotten Mark's photo, his information, enough to make Emma believe it really was her father reaching out on a second account. The grooming had been sophisticated, gradual. By the time Emma realized something was wrong, she was already trapped by shame and threats. She'd been protecting Mark, the real Mark, by not telling me. She thought if I knew Dad was sending those messages, it would destroy our family. She didn't realize it wasn't actually him until much later, and by then, she was too terrified and ashamed to speak up. The person behind M.R. Harrison had been clever. They'd used Mark's real second phone, the burner I'd found, to contact other girls, making it look like he was the predator. They'd stolen his identity, his photos, his life, and weaponized it. The police traced the account. It took 3 weeks. The person behind it was my brother, Robert. Robert Michael Harrison, same last name, because I'd kept it after marriage, and he was family. My brother, who I trusted with my daughter, who came to family dinners, who Emma adored as Uncle Rob. He'd been systematically grooming Emma and at least 4 other girls, using Mark's identity as cover. If anyone found out, Mark would be blamed. Robert would stay safe. He'd created the burner phone himself, planted it in Mark's office during a visit, and used it to contact other victims, adding another layer of false evidence. The plan was sick, brilliant, unforgivable. But here's the final twist that haunts me every single day. Emma can't forgive me. Not Robert. Not Mark.
Me.
Because when I found those messages, I didn't come to her first. I didn't ask. I didn't protect her. I suspected Mark, her real father, who'd never touched her inappropriately, who'd loved her unconditionally. And in that moment of suspicion, I broke something between Emma and me that can never be repaired. She testified against Robert. He's serving 15 years. But Emma won't speak to me. She's 17 now. She lives with Mark in a new house across town. I get supervised visits once a month, and she spends them staring at her phone, answering in monosyllables.
Mark and I divorced.
He doesn't blame me out loud, but I see it in his eyes, the knowledge that I believed, even for a moment, that he was capable of that. I lost my daughter the day I logged into that Apple ID. Not because of what I found, but because of what I assumed. Because I saw evidence and I filled in the gaps with the worst possible story, instead of the truth, that my daughter needed me, and I wasn't looking at her. I was looking at him. Robert's in prison. Mark has moved on. Emma is in therapy and refuses to say my name. And I'm here, alone in the house we used to share, staring at her empty bedroom and wondering if I'll ever get her back. The police said I did everything right once I knew the truth. But I did everything wrong when it mattered most. I didn't trust my family. I didn't ask questions. I just assumed. And assumption, I've learned, is the cruelest form of betrayal. Some days I still hear that notification sound, that soft ding, and I'm back in my kitchen, holding that iPad, about to make the decision that would cost me everything. I'd give anything to go back. To turn away from the counter. To let the notification go unanswered. To trust my daughter when she needed me most. But you can't undo the moment you stop believing in the people you love. You can only live with what comes after. Some stories end, but others begin right here. Keep growing with the telling tree. Like, subscribe, and stay with us.